Are you ready?
Special edition of the Pro Wrestling Report as we present yet another in our summer series of the greatest ever. Damian Nelson sitting here alongside David Hero on Wednesday, June 18, 2014, and what a day it's been.
It's been a day, hasn't it? It's a hump day.
You coming down off the all the heat you've been getting about your comments on primetime last week?
You know what? No, that wasn't primetime. Well, I got stuff for primetime.
You started on Friday and then went to primetime.
But you know what, though? It's amazing that the Super Friends do agree with me at times. They do. You know, and I'm flattered that people get it. That they know that I'm right, and they feel the same way. Does it taste good? You like that?
I just puked in my mouth a little bit. It's nauseating.
Well, if you were wrong all the time, too, I'd be sick as well.
But, folks, it's an all-new summer series here on PWR where we take a look at the greatest ever in several categories.
It's my show.
And for years, the debate has raged on as to who is the greatest ever. And now let's discuss this week's category, which is the greatest gimmick match ever. Now, gimmick matches have a long history, dating all the way back to what I think was one of the original gimmick matches, the always fun lumberjack match. These matches are typically used as the blow-off match to a long and storied feud, but sometimes they're just used to get ratings or pay-per-view buys.
No, they're also used to make sure everyone gets on TV so they get a paycheck.
A proper gimmick match, though, is one that is not done on a regular basis, which keeps it special, and is done when it makes sense that the combatants be subject to the stipulations so that they can actually settle their differences. Now, there's a long list of gimmick matches that qualify for the greatest ever, such as the Inferno match, the Casket match, a Buried Alive, Bra and Panties, Flag on a Pole, First Blood, Iron Man, Lethal Lockdown.
You went from Bra and Panties to Flag on a Pole. Was that on purpose? Was that intentional?
The Thunder Cage, and more. But even with that very impressive list, it really does boil down to the finalists, those that are at the top of the heap.
Okay, hold on. Before we get any further, Al asked me, he said, please make sure
Al Bundy?
The Kennel from Hell match is not in the finals.
That match is forgotten about by most people, including Al, I think.
Well, because he knows how you are sometimes.
How am I sometimes?
You can be very...
honest, truthful, upfront, deliberate.
Facetious, is that the word?
Cerebral.
That too, yeah.
The finalists. The Hell in a Cell match.
It's all about a good Hell in a Cell.
War Games, the match beyond, and the Elimination Chamber. So let's count down to the greatest ever by process of elimination.
All
finalists,
three
Hell in a Cell, War Games, and Elimination Chamber.
All very similar.
They are incredibly similar, aren't they?
Yes.
Let's start with the War Games, David Hero. That's the oldest existing concept, one that WCW made famous and one that was, I think, part of Fall Brawl, right?
Yes, it was.
Even before that, part of the Crockett Cup, maybe? Was it?
Well, it was a way to settle differences down in the NWA. Oh, I need to grab this. Can you let me grab this?
Asked you, Andy, to ensure the studio phone was.
This is Hero. Yes.
This is Hero. What are you doing?
Well, because if I say Dave, they might think, well, which Dave is it? Why don't you
carry on with your phone conversation and ignore me, because that makes all the sense in the world while we're on air. These red lights here, that outdoor sign that says on air means something.
Those headphones, they don't work anymore.
What?
So,
what are you?
So next week.
What do you mean next week?
Fantastic.
The 4th of July.
Yes, I'll make sure that.
Anyways, I'm going to carry
fireworks next week.
War Games, the match
Fantastic.
beyond. You saw such greats in that. Ric Flair, you saw Sting, you saw... Hell, remember Bruno Sammartino even guest referee.
He is ungrateful, isn't he? Yes. I know he's trying to talk. You know, he could just... Really?
Yeah, I sure did.
You know, we taped the show. You could have just... That's not going to end well for you. You don't have a lot... You know, there's a lot of people that don't like you. Remember Abyss, last time you cocked off to him, what happened?
Last time I what?
Smarted off. What'd you think he said?
I stood my ground, sat at this table, and if I were in Florida, I could have shot him and gotten away with it because I stood my ground. You ran like a little girl.
You did not have Skittles in his jacket.
You ran like a little girl. Well, what was that smell then? If it weren't Skittles, were they M&Ms that had melted? Anyways, yes. Who is that? Why are you taking these calls? You did it during prime time, now you're doing it here.
I'm efforting stuff. It's all about ratings.
There's a first time for everything, isn't there?
Well, yeah. So, greatest ever.
We're talking about War Games. The
War
match
Game.
beyond. Bruno Sammartino, guest refereed once. Great Muda's been in them. Sting, Lex Luger, The Road, everybody.
Well, it's usually the Four Horsemen against somebody. Is what it was.
Yes.
You know.
Was War Games really the precursor for the Hell in a Cell?
Absolutely.
It was the first covered cage, I believe.
It was 2 cages.
The ceiling always almost fell in on the 2 matches.
They almost killed Brian Pillman. Sid almost killed Brian Pillman on one of them.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Right?
I always loved and I don't remember who did it, but somebody would do a press
Road
slam
Warriors?
into the top of the cage.
Road Warriors?
Like that hurt, but it always looked good.
The Road Warriors. I just told you 3 times. It was the Road Warriors. Gosh, you're ungrateful. So, okay, I can see War Games as being the first brutal. I mean, cage match was always brutal, but War Games took it to a new level.
The 2 rings. A little clumsy, but
It was a
good
WCW
concept.
production.
What was the one with 3 rings? World War III?
Yes.
And they had 3 commentary teams, one for each of the rings?
Well, they had to. Because how could you see 3 rings down? God forbid you look
got
at a
the
monitor.
So what are you saying? Who's out first? War Games, Elimination Chamber, or Hell in a Cell?
I'm going to say Elimination Chamber goes first.
Really?
Yeah.
Match invented by Eric Bischoff in 2002,
Yeah, yes.
Survivor Series,
I
where
mean,
Shawn Michaels won the WWE Championship after his return.
I enjoy Elimination Chamber. I think it's a great concept, but all it is plexiglass inside a cage.
There's been some brutality and some memorable moments at Elimination
Yeah,
Chamber. Remember, it's where
absolutely,
Edge cashed in against John Cena and won the championship
Yes.
back in 2005
Yes.
as well. Shawn Michaels, as I said, winning that title with some tremendous spots in that matchup. They look good. Yes, it's plexi, but I think it's a great match concept. Is it the greatest ever, though? I don't know if I'm sitting here saying that.
No, it isn't. Because I said it's the first one to go. So now we're down to 2.
War Games and Hell in a Cell.
Hell in a Cell.
Hell in a Cell or Hell in
You know
the
what?
Cell?
I'll be quite honest. I mean, I didn't watch that many NWA pay-per-views
Really?
back in the day.
Really?
I didn't. Yeah, I was a WWF guy, WWE guy. But from what I remember, the War Games was brutal.
Yeah.
You had Ivan and Nikita, Dusty Rhodes, the Road Warriors.
Was it War Games or the Thunderdome where they did the electrocution thing with Abdullah the Butcher?
That was...
The switch fell,
I think
and then
that
they had
was-
to put the switch back up.
Yeah, I think
it was a Thunderdome match.
But God, you know what? Hell in a Cell is the match. It is the
First one
benchmark.
occurring in October of 1997.
And
Undertaker versus
when
Shawn
you
Michaels.
think of War Games, you think of brutality. But for me, personally, there isn't one spot that sticks out. You know?
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Hell in a Cell, it's the Mick Foley highlight reel.
Yeah.
It's Rikishi off the top of the cage.
Into the hay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess...
Well, but the purpose of the gimmick is have the gimmick and use the gimmick.
But-
Meaning, currently in cage matches, Elimination Chamber matches, Hell in a Cell matches, they rarely actually use
I mean,
the
but,
gimmick.
you know, and I hate to throw this curveball at you, but for me, the greatest gimmick match of all time, and we had to go with the ones that were selected, I get that.
by the board.
TLC match.
Table chairs and chairs?
Absolutely.
Definitely should be a qualifier. You're saying
Yeah.
over Hell in a Cell and War Games.
For me, yeah.
Why? Because of the Terry Invitational Tournament?
No, just because there are so many different scenarios that, first of all, when you're watching a cage match blocks a lot of the match. Very frustrating
Not in
for me.
TNA, they got holes in the cage. Camera shots. WCW used to put a cameraman in the cage.
But with TLC, you had stuff all over the place. It was a car wreck.
One of my favorite TLC moments, I think, was Madison Square Garden. It was a match involving the Hardys and the Dudleys, I think. And they did, it was
See
a
you
camera
bobbing your
shot.
head right now. You okay? You
It was
excited about something here? Pump the
I'm
brakes.
finding it in my wrestling files in my head.
Is that what you do?
Yes. It was, something happened where Matt Hardy had come down first, and then into the camera shot came Jeff Hardy, like with a leg drop or something outside the ring, and that was just an amazing just visual of that matchup. TLCs were great matches, but from a sheer significance standpoint, to go back to your point of earlier, more happened in War Games and Hell in a Cell matches, and even Elimination Chamber matches, than actually happened in TLC matches.
Oh, you can only take so many bumps off the top of a ladder.
Can only take so many bumps off the top of a cell.
Agreed. You can't go wrong with a good gimmick match. You really can't. And if you think about it, most of the pay-per-views now, Money in the Bank, gimmick match. Hell in a Cell, gimmick match. Chamber, gimmick match. Royal Rumble, gimmick match.
But not on this list deliberately, because we'll be doing Best Royal Rumble of all time coming up soon. Greatest ever, rather. So let me get this correctly here as I hop into Wolf Blitzer mode to get you to actually answer the question, just in case I missed it. You are saying that the greatest ever gimmick match ever is TLC. Tables, ladders, and chairs.
For me, yes. But for the purpose of this show, I will go with Hell in a Cell.
See, I'm at War Games, David.
Well, that's fine. You can be at War Games.
Was more substantial and earlier on, and really was.
Tell me, what is your War Games moment? What sticks out for you?
War Games moment?
Yeah. Besides pressing the guy into the cage, and you said doesn't hurt. You've never been pressed into a cage before, have you?
I actually haven't.
Really?
Yeah.
What was her name?
War Games, the match beyond. The moment I remember, every time they happened, it was sheer chaos. It was an important match. It meant something. We've seen Hell in a Cell matches that have meant nothing.
Because there's no build-up
Chamber
anymore.
matches. Exactly. War Games, fine. If we go back to that era and say it's all about eras again, War Games, I think, is the greatest gimmick match ever, because it always meant something. It always did. Every single one of those that happened meant something. And while you didn't have those sensational high spots, if you will, that you got from the Hell in a Cells, you didn't have the championships changing hands as you got from the Elimination Chambers, War Games was WCW. That might have been, aside from Starrcade, their next big thing. Their next biggest thing.
I think it was bigger than Starrcade.
Yeah. So do we get a tiebreaker here? You have to call Linda into the studio, or maybe your little phone's going to ring again?
Linda's tie?
She is not spicy.
Why would she be the breaker then?
You're going to stick with Hell in a Cell.
Yes.
War Games. We can't have a tie. How do we fix this? Do we need to consult outside counsel?
No. Hey, bro, let the people decide. Tie goes to the peoples. No, Linda is not tie. She's Laotian.
She has I've never seen her wear a tie. A necktie.
Oh, whoops.
All right, fine. We'll put it to the people. We'll put it to you out there. Follow us on Twitter. Share your comments, your thoughts, and coming up on Feedback Friday, we'll announce the winner, I guess. We've never deferred.
No.
This is 2000.
It's
Florida.
It is, isn't it? Well, that means that I'll win.
Are you a hanging or a swinging Chad? You're a dimple Chad. That's what you are.
I'm not a dimple.
The greatest ever. Which is it, ladies and gentlemen? Is it the Hell in a Cell match, or is it War Games, the match beyond? I'm on the side of War Games. David's on the side of Hell in a Cell. We want to hear what you think. You will make the final decision. You can do so via Twitter, at PWR Show on Twitter. Which one was it? Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, for that one, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in here to the greatest ever on our YouTube channel. We'll see you soon.